Last time on the WizardCast.
2 acorns, Mark. We just need 2 acorns, or that murder gets away.
All right, but I don't think he'll listen.
Well, what did he say?
He says the exchange rate is 5 almonds for 1 acorn.
What?
And if he finds out we've shorted him, we'll have more to worry about than just almonds and acorns.
Okay, we got 8 peanuts, 2 almonds, 3 cashews, which I'll have you know we nearly died for.
I remember.
Oh, and a Brazil nut.
No, don't show them the Brazil nut. You've angered them.
Why?
Just run, Brian, run!
And now the conclusion of the WizardCast.
I'm Brian Kwong.
And I'm Mark Ross.
We're Salesforce experts that love talking about technology and Salesforce.
We also love humor. Doesn't mean we're actually good at it.
In the Salesforce community, I'm known as the Salesforce Wizard, likely due to me wearing a wizard hat at Salesforce events.
And I'm known as Salesforce Yoda for pretty much the same reason.
You should see the ears.
We have a passion to help educate and entertain people.
So we've joined forces to create WizardCast.
We've got tips and best practices.
We talk with interesting people.
All mixed with quote-unquote jokes and humor.
Welcome
to
the
WizardCast.
WizardCast.
Brian, it's podcast time. What are you doing?
I'm preparing for a trip to Mars.
By dimming the lights and playing smooth jazz?
Well, there's no atmosphere on Mars. I'm trying to create one.
Well, I know we're full of hot air, but I think even we'd have a hard time with that amount of atmosphere and terraforming. What?
I got nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
You got nothing what? What
no
do you
banter.
mean?
You know, we do the plot, joke, then we banter before we make a joke about a fake sponsor or affiliate, before we go to the content. We have no banter.
Well, why not, Brian?
I forgot to write it. You don't...
You forgot.
Yeah, we can't banter without it being pre-planned, Mark.
Poppycock. Come on. Right now. Let's do it. We can improvise.
Improvise?
Right? I didn't take all those improvise classes for nothing. Yeah.
Okay.
Current events.
So-
Super Bowl. That's right. You're gonna watch that Super Bowl. It's the superest of bowls, you know.
No, I'm not a football fan.
Not even the commercials?
I'm not a commercialism fan. And now it's time to tell the people that they can get a free month hosting with their podcast on Libsyn.
Okay, here we go again.
Look, Libsyn is where we host our podcast, and we've had a fantastic experience with them, and their plans start at $5 a month. You can try any of the plans with a free full month and pay a completely different plan when your month is over. Mark? Come on, Mark. Read the script, Mark.
To get your free month, use the promo code PODMAGIC, all lowercase.
Good boy. Here, have a Marky snack.
Red bean paste flavored.
That's PodMagic, all lowercase, Libsyn.com. So, Mark.
Yes.
And I guess to all the listeners out there who are listening at some generic time of day, hi, Mom.
What? Listeners?
Our guest today is an admin developer. She started 2017 with no certifications, none. And between March and November, she got 5 certifications. She has over 125 badges in Trailhead, making her a ranger. She's been a co-founder of 3 different Salesforce groups. She is an 8-foot, 45-inch woman known for her fine needlework and juggling skills.
What?
She's an 8-foot, 45-inch woman known for her fine needlework and
I
juggling
heard it
skills.
the first time. Yes. I don't think that's right.
Well, let's hear it from her.
Okay.
Here's Jessica Murphy.
Yay.
Hello, everyone. Well, okay, so let's get this. I'm not 8 foot. I'm 5'5", and interestingly, I am the shortest person in my immediate family. See, my dad was 6 foot, my mom was 6 foot, and my sister's 5'11". So every now and again, they would look down at me and they would go, "How's the weather down there?" So I had this complex growing up. I thought I was short. And so then then I grew up and moved to Phoenix, and suddenly I'm a giant. I'm like, what happened? Like, did I no, I'm not 8 foot, but I am 5'5", and yeah, that's my deal. So
I wish I knew that before I inadvertently made a height joke.
Okay, so I guess I'm supposed to be talking about Salesforce and not my height, right? Is that that's what I'm supposed to do?
It's the WizardCast.
Allegedly.
I mean,
Yeah.
you've heard us before.
So okay, so my journey with Salesforce started believe it or not, in 2014, kind of. 2014, I graduated with a master's degree in education.
Nice.
And before that, I had been a sign language interpreter and teacher. I thought that I was going to find some great college and do the grown-up thing, work in the Office of Disability Services, and that's not what fate had for me. After I graduated, I couldn't find a job. I looked high and low, and so family would be like, "Hey, Jessica, how's the job search going?" And I'm like, it just wasn't happening. So
with a master's in education,
right? It was a master's degree in education. I know that is crazy, actually. I felt the same way, actually. So skip forward to 2015, and I met this woman named Sheena, and she was with Women Who Code. It was, in the process of looking for a job, and I just met this woman by accident. And she said she loved teaching women to code. And I think that it was my first time. I had other developers in my life, but they were all male. And so she was the first woman that I met who was a developer, and I thought, "Oh, really? Wait, this could actually be a thing?" So after meeting her, I went home. I Googled coding. I Googled Women Who Code. I Googled Girl Develop It Phoenix. I ended up joining both Women Who Code and Girl Develop It, and started teaching myself HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I was actually working on a JavaScript project when I learned about Salesforce. One of my friends, Rachel Watson, who's also the co-founder of Women Who Dev User Group, co-founder of Phoenix Salesforce Saturday and co-leader of Women Who Dev User Group, she said, "Jessica, I heard about the Salesforce thing. GDI is having an event, and I want you to come with me." And I was like, "Oh, girl, I know what I'm going to be. I'm going to be a Ruby on Rails developer. That's what I'm doing when I grow up, period." That's what's happening. And so I went, and I thought I was supporting her. So the meeting was an all-user group meeting, and the speaker was Chris Duarte.
Wow.
And this is really the truth. I'm sitting there typing on my computer, and Chris is talking about Salesforce, and I'm looking up going, "That's interesting." But I'm like, "No, I'm doing JavaScript. This is what I'm doing." And she said something else interesting, and I said, "No, JavaScript." And then after a while, I shut my computer completely, and it was all about Salesforce. And that's when I knew, oh, wait, there was another part. I want a hoodie. And it was over. I want a hoodie.
Chris handed out
Hearts
the
and
swag,
minds.
and you were gone.
That's it. Salesforce. I want a Trailblazer hoodie. So I went ahead and went through boot camp. I went to a Ruby on Rails boot camp. I went to a JavaScript boot camp. In the middle of that boot camp, I also met Mary Scotton, and I thought that she was amazing. At Southeast Dreamin'. Yeah, she's amazing. I met her at Southeast Dreamin'. And she kind of was the second part that made me go, "Yeah, I'm on the right path." All right, so I kept on hearing this thing about clicks before code. So even I got out of camp, and I went for administration because I kept on hearing, "You're supposed to do clicks before code," and I know myself. I will code it to death. So I took the next year, and I learned the admin part. So I spent 2016 getting badges and became a is that right? No, I'm sorry, it's 20. Yeah, okay, right. 2016 getting badges. I decided in 2017 that I would get certifications. So with the help of Girlforce, now Amplify, they actually sent me to Destination Success. I got my first 2 certifications there. I got app builder first and then admin. And then for the rest of the year, or throughout that year, I got, platform developer 1, advanced admin, and sales cloud. And I can honestly tell you, the one that made me want to bang my head and start my nose bleeding was advanced admin. Man, advanced admin made me want to cuss a cat. That's a Southern term.
Forecasting.
Yes.
Territories.
Oh, God.
It was a lot worse when it was Territories 1.0.
Oh, God,
Back in my day.
My brain hurt at the end of that one. So that was it. So 2017, we also started Women Who Dev user group in 2017. Before that, we had started some other things. We had started Sassy Tech Socials for women who, for women in all areas of tech who want to meet each other. We were one of the we were the co-founders, Rachel, me, and Paula Nelson, also known as That Darn Woman. We're the co-founders of Phoenix Salesforce Saturday. I think we started that in 2015. And so the last thing I did was last year was Women Who Dev user group, which has been absolutely amazing. It's been my love. I call myself a boomerang because now I'm going kind of back to code a little bit, after my time in doing admin work. And so it's been really, really wonderful. So we started Women Who Dev user group in July, and it's grown from 0 to 201 people as of today. And it's just been fantastic. They are just amazing. So yeah, that's been my trip through the Salesforce world, and I've absolutely loved it. And I think what I've loved more so than all of these things that, I supposedly have done and, I've allegedly done, what I really loved is the community. In the Ruby on Rails world, they have the saying, we're nice because Max is nice. And I can say that it's really true. The people in the Ruby on Rails world are nice, but the people in the Salesforce world, wow, they are so nice. They're so phenomenal. They're so helpful. They're so about supporting each other. I know absolutely that I made the right decision. Chris started it, but yeah, I'm here because I absolutely love the community.
Yeah, I could definitely back that up. My my entrance into the IT world was in open source. And open source is especially if you get into some of the more beneficent areas of open source, like where I started, which was education. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice, and people are helpful, and people work on things together. And then there's Salesforce. Like, it is another level that just blows my mind every time I take 2 steps back and stop and look. It's like, wow, this is kind of unprecedented. But one thing, I'm going to backtrack to the very beginning.
It's a very good place to start.
Yes. There was something that you said that really stuck out to me, because I know I've had conversations with people that, shall we say, do not always share our ideologies. And I gasp. Alarm.
Oh, that's right. My face doesn't work in an audio-only platform.
No, it doesn't. Brian was showing gasp and alarm. But one of the things I have heard from people in face-to-face conversations is women have plenty of opportunities. You can't tell me they don't. You can't tell me that. And this thing that I've tried to explain to them is this idea that you don't get it. You don't understand that they don't have necessarily, that women don't necessarily have an idea that they can because they don't see other women doing it. And to me, when you said, it was only as little as 3 years ago that you heard that you said you had never seen a woman developer before, or heard of a woman developer before. Like, that right there, drop the mic, right?
Yeah.
And you're attesting to that. That was not a thought in the brain until that point.
In other words, Jessica, thank you for coming on the podcast and giving Mark the proof he needs to go back to those people and say, nah, I was right.
But it's something we all need to be aware of, and it's a story we all need to know and carry forward, right? As doing our part. Because it's not just the community of like helping each other out, but it's the community of lifting each other up. that makes Salesforce so different. And it's incumbent on all of us to do that. And you had so many people lifting you up. You had Chris Duarte, friend of our show. You had Mary Scotton. You had Rachel. You had that darn woman. You've had so many people. And all of us need to be doing our part to do that, because you are a success story.
Amazing success story.
That is because of that.
You put me to shame.
Yeah, put all of us to shame. But most of us.
And I mean it very sincerely, okay? I know people may wonder why I say that. You know how many badges I have in Trailhead, Jessica?
How many?
5. And 2 or 3 of them are like special event things that are the only reason I have them, okay? You know how many certifications I have?
How many?
I think 4 if you count the old dev, because I haven't transitioned it to the app builder yet.
Oh, you haven't either? Oh, we're both bad children.
You wanted to learn how long I was doing Salesforce before I got my first certification?
How long?
Almost 7 years. Okay?
Woo!
So, you're ahead of me in badges and certifications, and you've been doing this for less time than I have. You put me to shame.
Okay, so I absolutely cannot say that this is, this is like me being so disciplined and so perfect. No. This is Salesforce Saturday. Okay, here my little plug for Salesforce Saturday. Salesforce Saturday was created in 2015 by Stephanie Herrera.
To do what? What is Salesforce Saturday?
Salesforce Saturday is basically community driven. It's people who've decided, listen, I need to practice and work on my Salesforce skills. And so we meet every Saturday. Well, we do different ones do different things, because it is community driven. And we meet every Saturday and we work on our skills. That's what we do every Saturday. And we say, okay, so 5 days a week are for your employer and that Saturday is for you. So it's been being able to go to Salesforce Saturday, meeting people who do different Salesforce things like admins, developers, even entrepreneurs who come to our group. So not only have they been inspirational, but they have also been helpful in me learning and being able to do all of these things. Like, let me give you an example. I did not know, but before 2017, I didn't actually think about getting certifications. I some kind of way thought, this is way off in the future. I'm just not there. I'm not ready.
I can wait 7 years.
Right. I mean, I really had imposter syndrome. And because of Salesforce Saturday, we had a developer in there named Rob Alexander. And he looked at me and he said, you went to boot camp. You've been doing, the clicks before code. You are ready. So because of Rob, I said, okay, maybe I can do it. I started studying and I passed. So, yeah,
let me ask you this. Did you pass your admin the first time you took it?
Yes.
Why, Mark? Did you not pass the first time you took it?
No, but I did. But I've known some very, very strong admins who did not.
Me too.
I actually backed it out. This is why, because when I started, when I went to Destination Success last year, they had the feedback. So I took App Builder first. Rob recommended, because I had worked at, done the developer work, that I try App Builder first and then go back to admin. So I did App Builder first. And because I got the feedback from App Builder, I realized that I was like weaker in areas like security. So I studied that part. And I was like, I passed. Yes, it was amazing. But the feedback was really beneficial in me passing. Had I not gotten it,
so did you take your test?
That's a really good test.
Did you take your test in a big testing center, or did you take it like remotely?
The first 2 tests were Destination Success. So I was in a room full of everybody testing all different types of things. So that was pretty fun.
So when you got the whole, you submit the exam and the very subtle lower, things is you pass. Did you do the whole I'm invincible and stand up and do the little dance type of thing?
Okay, so because I was in a room full of people, other Salesforce people testing, I really wanted to get up and do a jig and start dancing around, but I couldn't because that would be completely rude. So So I just walked out with this big grin on my face, and then I went outside. I was like, yes, yes, yes. Okay, this is true story. One of the testing people who was in the back of the room had to come out and say, okay, be quiet. People are still taking their test. I was so excited, and I was just, it was just the best thing ever.
That's awesome. That's a good tactic, taking the app builder first. I hadn't thought about that. Well, and they didn't used to give you the feedback. They was just used to say this was that you passed or failed. That was it. I don't even know if they gave us the percentage back then.
No, you
back
never.
In the day.
You had, it was literally a pass fail. You had no idea how close you came to passing or failing.
So that's a really good tactic, because the app builder is an easier test than the admin is. It shouldn't be, but it is. It's very strange.
Don't tell them that. I still have to take the test, Mark. Shh. So here's what strikes me. You have a master's in education.
Yes.
A master's. Meaning,
yes.
Not only did you go to college, you did more than college.
Yes.
College plus.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
And so this is coming from someone who sucks at school and really, really struggled. So the fact that I talked to someone with a master's degree, it's hard for me to wrap my head around someone going that long of a school and then not being able to get a job from that. But my long-winded question is, have you been able to take anything that you learned or otherwise experienced from getting your master's or having your master's in education to your career as a Salesforce administrator / developer?
Okay, that actually is a great question.
See, Mark, I ask great questions.
Hey, look at you! Good job.
The answer is yes. So, of course, revealing my evil secrets. Okay. So being the lead of Women Who Dev user group is very much so in some ways like being a teacher. But I use some of the tactics that I used that I learned as an educator, learned in grad school, in the group, and they have been wildly successful. If I tell you which ones, I'll have to kill you, so I probably won't need to tell you that.
Look, Jessica, no one's listens to the podcast, so just whisper it. We promise we won't tell anyone.
Okay, so when you're a teacher, there's this idea. So let me go back. I think like in the 90s or so, I think teachers got into this way where they started going, "Oh, good job on everything." Well, one thing that we learned in education was that you have to say good job intermittently. You can't say it all the time, because if you do, the person almost becomes desensitized to you saying good job. So sometimes I'll say good job, but not all the time. And especially that's been effective on 100 days of code, because you see, I have the heart of a cheerleader. I want to be like, yes, you did it. You're awesome. I want to do that all the time, every day. And I have to calm myself down and go, Jessica, you're a professional. You know that you can't do this all the time, every single time somebody does something good. So, so I try to, keep the feedback to a minimal for me. For some people, they would still go, wow, you say that a lot, but, I really, really love, telling people they've done a good job. Another area that it's really helped is in Salesforce Saturday. So Salesforce Saturday gets a lot of different types of people. We get admins, we get developers, we get people who are experienced, and we especially tend to get people who are brand new. So before we had trail mixes, which I did create 2 trail mixes to this, about this. Before we had trail mixes, people would come in and go, where do I start? I'm looking at Trailhead, and it's like, there's all of this stuff on this page. Where do I start? Well, when Trailhead first started out, we mostly had the admin badge. And so what I really love is that the Trailhead team went backwards and said, this is how you learn on Trailhead. This is where you start, these types of things. And I know that people have created, like I said, trail mixes to that extent. So we would have people that would come into Salesforce Saturday, and I essentially created a curriculum for them so that they could start in a place that made sense, and so that they wouldn't get confused. Because I remember when I first went into the admin badges, and I was like, what do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying to me. And, and so I wanted people not to experience that. And so I created a curriculum for them for that. So yeah, I have been able to use some of my my education in different
so
areas.
I have a request to make for you.
Yes.
I would like is either a user group presentation, or better yet, submit this to Dreamforce or to Midwest Dreamer or something like that. I think there's a great opportunity for you to be able to use your Masters of Education to teach us how to use education principles in our jobs as administrators. Because if you think about it, a lot of times you're not just adminning and building stuff. You're often training users. You're often having to support users both at a variety of across the spectrum of competence when it comes to technology. And I'm trying to figure out the right words where I don't sound like a complete jerk, but sometimes you need to manage the managers above you. And I would imagine that you have some secret Masters of Education knowledge, some kernels that you can share and spread. Like, oh, you know what we need? We need the 10 tenets from Jessica Murphy.
It's called Pedagogy.
Pedagogy?
Brian. Pedagogy.
What's pedagogy?
Yes. This is a real word, and it's basically different approaches of trying to teach. Yes? Did I get that right, Jessica?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Mark can Google everyone.
There are lots of, like I said, I have some education background. My parents were both teachers, and I did a lot of working with educational software. So there's this is the thing. There isn't. He's right. Brian's right. There's not a lot of kind of organized instruction for admins on how to teach either up or down. There's no outcomes-based orientation. There's no real pedagogical principles that go into anything. It's just, hey, we know how to do Salesforce, so let us talk about how to do Salesforce. And there's not a lot of structure to it. And I think that would be incredibly valuable.
Okay.
If you spoke on that, I would be front row.
And before you do it, come up with your materials, build out your curriculum, and then give the WizardCast the exclusive, and then go do the presentation, because, we need to feel special.
Right.
Okay, awesome. That's happening.
I must drive listenership.
You don't drive a ship, Brian. You steer a ship.
I must steer Okay, anyways. I could see it now. Come listen to the WizardCast and find out where Jessica Murphy will be presenting her edicts and education as a Salesforce admin.
Edicts?
Whatever.
She's the queen of Salesforce education now, and these are her edicts.
Hey, we have Salesforce Yosa, Salesforce Wizard. Do we have a Salesforce Queen yet?
Actually, I think we do. We have a Salesforce Queen and a Salesforce Princess. Both. Yes, I know the Salesforce Princess. She's here in Phoenix. So, yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Well, there could be multiple.
Eat your heart out, Disney.
Multiple content, but eat your heart out. Multiple countries of Salesforce. I completely went off the rails now, Mark. Bring us back. Bring us back.
I don't know I don't know how to do that. You said there's no discipline involved,
just like this podcast.
With doing it, you basically just did Salesforce. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like getting focus for having for somebody being able to say, I'm going to do this on Saturdays. I'm going to take a chunk of my weekend and devote it to self-betterment.
It's like
that is a form of discipline. Yeah, it is. It is like going to the gym, and that's not as easy.
Do you
as
wipe down the equipment during Salesforce Saturdays when you're done?
All right.
Metaphor too far?
You're funny. On our computers, not quite sure. I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, one person made a joke. A lady out of Texas. She was like, "Well, every Salesforce Saturday, I drink a bunch of caramel lattes," and I was like, "It just means that you Salesforce Saturday faster." I did this gif of someone typing really fast. It was awesome. But yeah, so maybe she has to wipe down her computer afterwards. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it does. I mean, okay, so it kind of does take discipline, but then you're also with Ohana. So there's a lot of giggling and laughing and talking over on the side. So, there's that too. Yeah.
I want to go to Salesforce Saturdays. I don't get to go to Salesforce Saturdays.
Yeah, when you got kids, that does become more difficult.
Especially when your wife works every other weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone feels sorry for Brian time.
All right, enough about
Okay,
you, Brian.
Yeah. It's only my podcast. We don't have to focus on me at all. Please edit that out, Mark.
I'm going to. I'll put it at the end of the outtakes. That's where it's going.
The code medicine, by the way. So attending Salesforce Saturdays is something you would recommend. I mean, at the basis is making time for you to be able to excel in your career, expanding your knowledge and things like that. What else would you recommend to all the admins that are out there? I mean, getting 5 certifications and getting 125 badges as a person who's gotten 5, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of time. So do you have recommendations beyond, hey, just carve out a little bit of time once a week, once a month, or whatever it is? Anything else that you think was helpful to you to really get to this point?
Okay, so there have been a few things. Of course, I always say Salesforce Saturday because that's absolutely the truth. But I would also say Trailhead. I know that sounds cliched, and I know that everyone says it, but Trailhead gives you the actual skills. Find yourself a mentor. Find someone who is going to hold you accountable, especially if you have a goal to get to, is going to, hold you accountable to say, did you do this week? Did you do that? And for me, it was really important to do one thing at a time. I think that it's easy to get scattered in the Salesforce world because it's so big, and there's so many different things that you can do in the Salesforce world. And several people have come to me and said, and after a while they say, you kind of have to specialize, and I agree with that. So for me, it was a while about getting the Trailhead badges, and it absolutely was, to get to my goal and to get that learning, happening in my own brain. But then it was also doing one thing at a time. So I took this year and I set badges, and I took this year and I set certifications. And this is why. Trailhead is more the skills and really understanding how to do Salesforce. But when you're working on the certifications, it certainly is. But, you're also focusing on how they ask the questions and those types of things. So it was helpful for me personally to focus on one thing at a time. So that's really it. I think that the next thing I would say is go for it. It's easy to put something like this off forever and say, oh, I'll get those badges eventually, or I'll get the certification eventually. I think we all have busy lives. But this is also, let me give you an example. This is why I decided to create the initiative in Women Who Dev User Group, 100 Days of Code. Because this is what happens as adults. We say, oh, I have children, I have my job, I have all of these different things. And what I love about Chris Duarte is that she said at one point when she had all of these things, she cleared out a space in her life and said, I need me time. I need time to be the person that I want to be. And I think that that's true for us. So as adults, we have all these little pieces in our lives. And I say, carve out some time for yourself and go for that goal that you've been wanting to accomplish, whether that is becoming a ranger or beyond, becoming certified or beyond, or just simply improving your skills. Just carve that time out for yourself, just a little bit, because we as adults get so caught up in doing for everyone else, doing for our children, doing, going. Just carve out that time for yourself.
The other thing I really like that you mentioned there is finding a mentor. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't really think about too seriously. I didn't have someone who said, I'm Brian's mentor, but I did have a number of people who performed that role and was very helpful. And you had Rachel, you had Chris, you had Mary Scott involved. You had people as well. The one thing that I bet people out there would be wondering is, how do you find a mentor, and what are the type of qualities you should be looking in a mentor? So do you have anything, since you've been working with all these other women and all these other groups and starting people out, do you have any tips for people to find How do I find someone to be in that mentorship role, and what should I be looking for?
I am not going to lie. I was very lucky. I ended up meeting most of these people by accident. Even Doug Ayers, I met him because I just happened to go to Southeast Dreaming. So there's a couple of things that I would say. The first thing is there is actually a community. There is actually a group in communities that's all about mentorship. Join it and say, I need a mentor. Secondly, go to regional events. Okay, so I love Trailhead DX. I love Dreamforce, but it is huge. The regional events are much smaller, and you have a chance to actually get to know people. And there is a higher chance you're going to find someone who is doing what you want to do and will be able to help you. That's kind of how I met Doug Ayers.
Mm-hmm.
And then thirdly, I would say in terms of looking for a mentor, look for someone who would challenge you, and for someone who kind of understands your schedule but will also challenge you, but also will help you get up to that next thing. So okay, for myself, I know that, like I said, I'm boomeranging. I want to learn Apex. I'm going to look for someone who knows Apex, who has the time, who I can ask questions, and who will say, hey, Jessica, did you do this? So that's what I'm personally looking for in a mentor, and that's what I would hope other people would be looking for as well. The person that will bring them up to the next level.
Nice.
Mark and I are like nodding our heads, going, "Okay, now what do we do?"
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
We hold hands and sing "Kumbaya." What do you think?
I don't think that's pod safe music.
Why wouldn't it be?
Because I really don't like the song.
Public domain. Okay. So it's technically pod safe, but maybe not safe for your pods.
It's not safe for my pods.
I think on that note, we should wrap it up.
Oh, we gotta.
Never tell me the pods.
Jessica, I'll throw it out to you. Mark can always edit. Do you have anything you want to make sure you say now that you have the wide audience of 3 people?
And our mothers.
I was counting our mothers.
Let's see.
Oh.
I would say go for your Salesforce dreams. I know, again, hackneyed, corny, but there's so many different areas of Salesforce. Go for it. Do the thing that you dream and do the thing that scares you. And for me, that was getting certified. That was starting a user group for developers. All of that stuff was scary, but I did it anyway. So, feel the fear, march forward.
WizardCast is produced by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, directed by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, technical administration by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, script writing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, audio editing by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, website maintenance by Brian Kwong and Mark Ross, and our intern this episode was Rachel Watson.
Send us interview suggestions. She's laughing. Laughing.
I'm going through the list of everyone who came up to me and said, hey, we love the podcast, blah, 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 at Dreamforce, and Rachel and Jessica came up together. So I had them listed one line, and I'm like, I can't use Jessica, she's the guest, so it's Rachel. When you see Rachel, you can ask her where the coffee and Pepsi is, because we didn't get any.
No, again. Send us your interview suggestions, joke videos, tips, and feedback to wizardcast@thewizardnews.com or head over to thewizardnews.com and click Contact WizardCast.
And we want to hear from you. If you could ask Parker Harris one question, what would it be?
Submit your question by going to bit.ly/ParkerQuestions, all lowercase, and fill out our short form.
It's also almost time for our next Idea Exchange highlight. This is where we talk about ideas on the Idea Exchange that may be languishing or is very important to you. So what ideas would you like to hear?
Again, bit.ly/idea highlight, all lowercase, to submit an idea to us.
Don't forget to subscribe to the WizardCast and receive our next episode automatically.
And please post reviews on iTunes and share this episode. It helps other people to listen to all the nonsense you just had to put up with.
Yeah, and hopefully Apple doesn't listen to us because they don't like saying iTunes anymore. We're supposed to say Apple Podcasts.
You didn't update the script, Brian.
Like you ever read the script. Once again, I'm Brian.
And I'm holding out for Cherry Garcia flavor next time.
Flavor of what?
The Marquee Snacks. It's a callback. It's a callback, Brian. It's where you have an earlier joke that you referenced later on.
Look, we just had a whole bunch of content. No one's going to understand that that's a callback. Cherry Garcia. I mean, isn't
flavor?
That like,
I mentioned flavor. Flavor was
isn't
the thing.
That like a Jerry
This is funny, Brian.
It's a... Thanks for listening. Jessica, can you just confirm to me that you and I met at Dreamforce?
Yes, we met at Dreamforce on the very last day.
And can you confirm to me that you came up to me and gave me positive feedback about the podcast?
Yes, I was really excited to meet you. Rachel, who I keep on talking about, Rachel was like, "You've got to meet WizardCast. They're so nice. They're so funny. Brian." I'm like, "Okay, I'll meet them." And so I met you, and yes, I did say that you are.
Can you confirm to me that Mark was not present when you came up to talk to me?
No, he wasn't.
Mark?
Yeah, that's why you were reluctant.
And we met up in Moscone West on the 3rd floor, if I remember right.
Yes, I believe
so. Mark, that was the time where you went to go change right before the admin keynote in that shirt, and you came back, and I said, "Mark, you missed another person who came up in it." He does not believe me that people came up to talk to me and say glowing things about the WizardCast, because and I kid you not, every single time Mark was not present. And sometimes it was like literally Mark and I have been standing together for quite some time. Mark goes off to do something. Someone comes up and say, "Brian, I love the podcast," and leaves. And then Mark comes back.
Jessica, I don't know how much he paid you to agree to do this ahead of time so that he could record this, which he's clearly doing right now. But I'll double it.
Awesome! Yes.